beyond the large cap space, if you're talking about some of the mid caps that are catching the eye, there's some interesting names. Actually, from tech, KPIT is one name, Tata Elxsi and KPIT, mid-cap IT. These are some of the stocks that are finding plenty of takers today, and they are quite interesting to look at. And then names like Minda Industries, IRB, even something like HOEC and Philips Carbon. So it's a pretty active mid-cap screen. And it's so far so good, actually. At least we're not seeing an absolute drubbing of mid-caps, Rima, which had become pretty much the order of the day over the last several weeks.
Yes, it's rare to see the advanced decline ratio actually positive. But just one point on this IT export growth. At 9.2%, one, it's higher than their company's, NASSCOM's own guidance of 7 to 9%. And secondly, it implies a significant acceleration in growth in FY19 itself, because in FY18, the exports growth was about 7.8%, which means there has been an acceleration of about 140 basis points in FY19. So that has been a significant and material pickup that we've seen, and it's reflecting in the numbers and the kind of growth rates. But more on NASSCOM as we get the guidance for FY20. But in the meanwhile, with the IBC process for Essar Steel nearing the finishing line, ArcelorMittal has initiated talks with Essar Group to buy out its power and port assets that are critical for Essar Steel. Nisha joins in with those exclusive details. Nisha?
Thanks for that, Reema. Of course, sources with direct knowledge share with us that there is no peace talk, as has been reported, between the Ruiyas as well as the Mittals on this front. But as the deal would have it, it is supposed to be going in the way of talks having started for the second phase of Essar Steel, which is likely to be bought over by ArcelorMittal if NCLT gives that approval. So technically, it is still not bought. The talks have started for some of the critical assets that Essar Steel will need in terms of power, which is as part of the Mahan as well as the Hazira unit and Hazira port, which is also going to be extremely critical for transportation. So these are the two areas and the peripheral infrastructure without which Essar Steel operations will not be feasible. And that's what the talk is going on between Essar Group as well as ArcelorMittal at this point. In fact, it is obvious in nature that Ruiyas will also try to get their pound of flesh out of this particular negotiation. But at the moment, what I do gather is that the valuations are something they have really not agreed upon. Essar Group knows that ArcelorMittal really requires it. But on the other hand, let me also make this point that while I spoke to some of the sources in Essar Group, they did say that there is no peace between Mittals and Ruiyas at this point. There could be surprise bids, or there could be surprise judicial aspects or options that could be explored. So at the moment, all options are being explored till NCLT gives the final stamp of approval for ArcelorMittal to go ahead with the Essar Steel deal. But if that really happens for sure, then Ruiyas will go ahead and transact on the peripherals that will be required for Essar Steel's operations by ArcelorMittal.
Okay, all right, Nisha, thanks very much. Let's see, that's quite interesting. Let's see if those additional assets also kind of become part of this overall deal. Right now, back to NASSCOM, and let's see what they're saying about FY20.
Every day we see some new announcement from governments across the world on regulation, and this is a completely new world, and this has the potential to completely cripple an industry, and it also has the potential to significantly grow an industry, right? Now, we have to figure out how to get this piece right and work with government to get this piece right. So there are a lot of uncertainties, and I think if I really have to give a feeling in terms of 2019, I would say at best we are cautiously optimistic about.
All right, a bit cautiously optimistic is how NASSCOM is putting the outlook for the Indian IT industry in calendar year 2019. They are saying that Brexit, the US-China trade relationships, and the other macro issues continue to be a bit of a concern, and spending is not at the same pace in 2019 that we saw in 2018. We still don't know what the numerical guidance is, but in terms of the qualitative speak by NASSCOM, they are, at least flagging off the macro uncertainties which could weigh on the Indian IT companies, calling it cautiously optimistic.